And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Flying weather for tomorrow. The front coming eastward here, we've got IFR tomorrow morning, moving into the west coast here, extending back across all the southern Bering Sea and the Aleutians here. Marginal VFR for the Fox Islands and IFR up to the Alaska Peninsula, spreading in all the way across Bristol Bay. VFR, Kodiak Island into the central interior. North Slope Arctic coast, some marginal VFR on the east side, and the Panhandle not looking too bad, mostly VFR. And for the afternoon, southeast coast stays VFR here right up to Yakutat. Marginal VFR now pushing eastward, the IFR dissipating as it comes in inland, but some IFR along the central Alaska range there and the eastern Alaska range. And IFR now into southern Kodiak Island. Marginal VFR, Prince William Sound into the Copper River Basin. And pretty good over the eastern interior, Mananuska-Susitna Valley, actually from Seward right northward there to the Brooks Range, VFR. And for the morning hours Wednesday, areas of IFR with some marginal VFR over the central western interior, kind of a solid area of IFR here along and south of the Brooks Range. And then northward there, up to the western Arctic coast, east side, VFR, same thing with the North Slope. IFR, northern Panhandle, marginal VFR central, southeast coast, and then VFR for the southern areas. And VFR breaking out again for Cook Inlet down toward, well, eastern Kodiak Island, and some more IFR along the Aleutian chain. And stays IFR out here for the Aleutians into Wednesday afternoon, except maybe on Alaska Island, marginal VFR. That area of marginal conditions extends northeastward here, covering all the eastern Bering Sea, well into interior Alaska, maybe some VFR for the afternoon Wednesday, northeast Bristol Bay, Kodiak Island up into Cook Inlet, Kenai Peninsula, Susitna Valley areas, but Copper River Basin, marginal VFR, and much of the interior marginal with some IFR for the eastern Arctic coast, Lynn Canal Glacier Bay over to Yakutat into the southeastern Copper River Basin, IFR. For the passes, Anatuvik and Adigan, both looking pretty marginal for the day tomorrow. And for the western Alaska range, Lake Clark and Merrill, IFR at least some point in the day at some point in the day with that front approaching from the west. And IFR, same thing, could see some IFR. And windy, VFR becoming marginal VFR. Isabel stays good, as well as Montasta. Good VFR there. Tanita, VFR. And Portage, VFR. Chilkoot and White, VFR also. Freezing levels about 10 to 12,000 feet here, Kodiak Island, Bristol Bay, and 6,000 feet over the southeast coast up the eastern interior. And for the north slope to the Arctic coast, about 2 to 4,000 feet there. And the Aleutians, either side at 12,000 feet. Icing, again, a couple surges coming in here. The first one right into the central interior by tomorrow afternoon, extending down into the Alaska Range area there, Denali Park, and maybe the northern Kuskokwim Valley kind of coming eastward here into the Susitna Valley, extending back to the western Arctic coast, and another batch here sliding across the Bering Strait, exiting St. Lawrence Island, and coming into the Seward Peninsula. And from there, the jet stream, 33,000 foot wind flow chart here showing west-northwest 95 knots, and then diminishing, kind of spreading out here, splitting somewhat. 70 knots with 65 knots south-southwesterlies there up over the Kobuk Valley. And then ridge axis right through here for light winds. Northerlies, not all that bad, about 40 to 50 knots there cutting across Yakutat as an upper low moves just east of the southern Panhandle. And for 9,000 feet, northwest 50 knots, turn west-northwest, 40 to 55 knots here coming across and into the Kuskokwim Bay area. Southwest, 40 to 50 knots here, west central interior, lighter to the east, down across the Panhandle, and at 3,000 feet, light variable winds for the southeast coast, North Gulf Coast, eastern part of the state, west 40 there, blowing right across Togiak Bay, north-northwest 40 knots there near St. Matthew Island. And for turbulence, look for considerable moderate turbulence here. Right along the Alaska Range here up into toward the southern Koyukuk Valley, and then out along all the southwest interior, northern Bering Sea, and along and on the south side of the Alaska Peninsula. Smooth everywhere else.